There's an old feminist myth that says when women stand up for themselves and refuse to be taken advantage of, men will call us a bitch. Well, that's not entirely true, because men do distinguish between a strong, assertive woman and a bitch. And the difference is in how we go about standing up for ourselves. So in this video, I'm going to explain how our interaction with men will result in us being called a bitch, and how we should go about standing up for ourselves so we get the respect we deserve. Women start down the path of bitchdom by believing the old feminist myth that men function through survival of the fittest, and men fight against each other to climb the corporate ladder, so only the strongest and fiercest make it to the top. This myth taught women that we need to be aggressive and combative with our male colleagues in order to be successful. But these aggressive women never reached the top. Instead of thinking our approach is wrong, some women saw it as confirmation of how men are afraid of strong women and sabotage female success. So the narrative that women need to be fierce and aggressive became ingrained in our efforts to advance women. The reality is survival of the fittest doesn't dominate men's behavior. Autonomy does. Autonomy says each man has his own space, and within his space are his tasks, responsibilities, and accountabilities. And since men have mutual respect for each other's autonomy, men for the most part stay out of each other's space. Occasionally, there's confusion about who's responsible for something, but these situations typically get sorted out without much conflict. However, conflict arises when one man enters another man's space and tries to tell him what to do or critiques how he's doing his job. These invasions violate the man code of autonomy, so the imposed upon man will fight back until he kicks the invader out of his space. By defending his space and standing up for his autonomy, the man proves his strength and his right to be taken seriously as an adult man who is capable of doing his job and meeting his responsibilities. It's critical that women understand men's rules for autonomy and adopt them for ourselves, because men are going to invade our space, and when they do, we need to be able to communicate with them that they're not allowed to do that, but we have to do it in a way that clicks with the way they think. The biggest reason men invade women's space is because they've been taught women need to be part of a group, so we have group space, not individual space. When men apply their rules of autonomy to our group space, they see a public place where they have the right to come and go as they please, take what they want, and discard what they don't want. And men don't expect women to challenge this because the space isn't women's private property. So in standing up for ourselves, the first thing women must do is declare our own space, and that autonomy isn't a man's right, but a human right. So we expect to be taken seriously as an adult woman who is quite capable of doing our job and meeting our responsibilities. Most of our male colleagues will respond with a huge sigh of relief because we just communicated that we understand and follow the rules of autonomy, and they can interact with us the same way they interact with each other. We can also expect some men not to take us seriously and to test us by invading our space. Women who adhere to the feminist myths are eager to fight and think that if we're aggressive enough, we'll get them to back down. But that's not how it goes. We forget men have wives and girlfriends, so they know exactly which buttons to push, so our reaction ensures our male colleagues will side with him. After he walks away, our desire to stand up for ourselves then causes us to make a critical mistake. We follow the man and invade his space, where we make threats and try to punish him for invading our space. We think that if we tear him down, we prove our strength and equality. But to our male colleagues, we just grossly violated the rules of autonomy. And for this, they label us a bitch and ensure we suffer consequences for our behavior. Standing up for ourselves doesn't have to result in us being labeled a bitch, because when we get into a conflict with men, we don't have to choose between fight or flight. We have a third option that allows us to exploit our feminine strengths and also honor men's rules for autonomy so we earn their respect. When we need to stand up against a man, our greatest strength comes from our ability to take a position and not budge from it. We become immobile. We become a broken record of no, no, no. This frustrates the man who needs us to engage in fight or flight. But since we won't give him what he wants, he's forced to give up and go away. And as for the rest of our male colleagues, they see our actions as the ultimate and supreme statement of autonomy. They see us as fiercely strong and independent. And for this, we earn their respect and loyalty. This is Dot Callahan asking you to help me turn the woman in the room into the women in the room. Sign up for my newsletter, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or find The Woman in the Room on Facebook. It's up to you. Just keep watching and sharing my videos to get advice from a woman who's been there, dealt with that, and knows what works.